Former NFL player, played for the Patriots, and all-around good guy, Ivy Leaguer. He's Ross Tucker, who joins us on the program. I'll give you the official introduction. The Ross Tucker podcast, you can check out Ross's YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Let me start with Cam Newton there, Ross. Good fit for both Cam and the Patriots?
Well, I think, Dan, it's an awesome move by the Patriots, just in the sense that there's almost no risk and there's a ton of upside and potential reward. I mean, all we're hearing so far is that he's making up to $7.5 million, which leads me to believe it's actually a lot less than that. So it sure as heck is worth a chance from the Patriots' perspective. But I had Andrew Brandt on my podcast today. He's not even sure Cam Newton ends up making the team when you look at the contract he has. Now, I think he's on the team, but I got crushed by people on social media when I said I don't think it's a lock that he's the starter. I mean, first of all, Dan, Belichick never looks at things from just a one-year time horizon. And so if you think about it, if it's even close between Stidham and Cam, he'd rather go with Stidham and have the young, cheap, healthy kid for years to come. Secondly, speaking of health, if Cam were as good as everybody's saying he is, right? Everybody's got all this excitement the last couple of days. I understand it. But if the Carolina Panthers thought that Cam Newton could be the Cam Newton of 2015 or the first half of 2018, they wouldn't have cut him, Dan. I mean, they wouldn't have cut him making $18 million to give Teddy Bridgewater more than $20 million a year. Or Ron Rivera, if he thought Cam could be the same guy, he would have been pounding the table. Hey, let's bring him in along with Haskins to give us another option. He didn't do that. So that says a lot to me.
How do you think the Patriots will and should use Cam Newton?
Well, I think that's probably the most intriguing aspect of this whole thing, right? Is because he is sort of the polar opposite of what they've been doing the last 15 years. It's been primarily dink and dunk from the pocket. Cam's strength is the deep in routes, the deep digs, and running the football. So how early in training camp, Dan, do they start to implement those things when they don't know for sure it's going to be Cam instead of Stidham or Brian Hoyer or whatever? But that's what I think you would see from New England. I don't think they brought him in to not run the ball. If he can't run, and I had Booger McFarland say this to me on my show on Monday, if he can't run, I just don't think he's that valuable. And it's a one-year deal. I think at this point, whether he can run the way he used to or not, Dan, the Patriots are going to run him because they have to. And Cam's going to run because he's not as effective if he doesn't. And that's his best chance to get a big-time $100 million deal. Maybe he can be this year's Tannehill. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just don't bring him in. It's like drafting somebody and then saying, we don't want you to play the way you did in college. We want to change you. The beauty of what we saw with Cam when he went to Carolina is Carolina adapted to Cam and made it comfortable for him coming in. You know, Belichick can design all kinds of offensive schemes here, and Josh McDaniel the same way. I'm with you. I got to find out what I have with Jarrett Stidham. Unless they've found out what they have, and now they're willing to bring in Cam and say, let's have some competition. Maybe Cam Newton's our future and not Jarrett Stidham.
I think it's all about options, and Cam gives them another option, extremely inexpensive. I mean, why not? Why not bring in Cam and see what he can do? But you got to remember this too, Dan, and I know you know this, and I know it from my time in New England. Belichick doesn't really care about how big of a name a guy is when he brings him in. I mean, think about all the guys over the years that went there and were never heard from again. Albert Hainsworth, Torrey Holt, John Lynch, Reggie Wayne, Joey Galloway, Chad Johnson. I mean, over the years, the Patriots always get these big names. Like, oh, Patriots did it again. Patriots. But then a lot of times, look, some of them worked out. Corey Dillon, Randy Moss, some of them worked out. But a lot of them, that's where their careers went to end. That's where their careers died.
If we're talking to Ross Tucker, if you had a chance, you were a free agent, you could play for the Patriots next year or the Buccaneers. Who would you want to play for?
Without any hesitation, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, first of all, Dan, I think you know me by now. I'm just going to go to whichever team gives me the more money because that's what I'm playing for.
Money's the same.
Money's the same. I'm going to Tampa because I think that they have a legitimate chance to go to the Super Bowl and win it. You know, I've said this to people before. I played for 5 teams, bunch of different quarterbacks. When our quarterback was Drew Bledsoe in Buffalo, we thought we were going to win, right? When my quarterback was maybe some of the other guys I had, they'll remain nameless, kind of hoped you would win. When my quarterback was Tom Brady in New England, you freaking know you're going to win. Even when you don't, you know you're going to win. And so that immediately transfers to Tampa Bay. I don't care if they're down by 10 to the Saints in the third quarter, fourth quarter. All those guys in the Bucs look over. They see number 12. We're going to win. We have Brady. And I don't care what my guys like Devin McCourty and Matt Slater say. They get to the fourth quarter, and we'll see if it's Cam or Stidham. But if it's Stidham and they look over, man, I hope this kid has it in him. And I'm just saying that permeates throughout the entire locker room, huddle, organization, everything. I think people in Tampa are going to play better. I think people in New England are going to play worse. And I think Brady's a big factor in that.
Do you have the list of quarterbacks that Ross blocked for?
Yeah, I'll name names. Tony Banks, Chad Hutchinson, Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady.
Okay.
So one of those, I was a groomsman in his wedding. So I would not point out that he was one of the ones that we were hoping he would win. If you want me to throw somebody under the bus, I'll go throw Charlie Fry under the bus. Charlie Fry was kind of a we're hoping, right? Let's be honest. In Cleveland, Charlie Fry was kind of a we're hoping guy.
You are an Ivy League guy, as you like to remind us. There's talk, a possibility of maybe spring football for the Ivy League. What do you think of this possibility?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the one thing I can almost guarantee you, Dan, is that whatever the most cautious or safest option, that's what the Ivy League is going to do. I mean, we know they were the first one to cancel the basketball tournament. Yeah. It's kind of funny looking back on it, how much criticism they got for that. And then the whole world canceled like 2 days later. But if they feel like there's any threat at all, they're not going to get these guys in that type of risk. And the thing that's unique about the Ivy League is they already don't let them go to the FCS playoffs. So the Ivy League title is already the be-all, end-all. So if they played in April, May, you know, that's basically what their season is. It's not like, oh, now we can't play North Dakota State in the semifinals. They can't go there anyway. So it actually works. The thing I find interesting about it is there have been more and more Ivy League guys in the NFL recently, guys getting drafted. I mean, every year, I think Princeton had 3 or 4 guys the last couple of years. What happens if the NFL drafts in the middle of your season? You know, what happens if you get drafted 5 games in, you get drafted by the Bears in the 6th round, and like you still have 5 more college games to play? I mean, it's a unique scenario to say the least.
It's good to talk to you, Ross. Do you think the NFL season starts on time?
I do. I think obviously it's all dependent on the next 4 weeks, the next 6 weeks, and what happens with baseball and the NBA. Right now, I do think it starts on time. My concern is whether or not they're able to finish the season. Everybody watching, listening, please wear a mask. We need football. I need football. Make it about me. I need football this season. Please, everybody.
I'm going to make this about you. The Danettes, they have had discussions here of who has physically the biggest head who's been on this show since we started Zooming. Paulie, where do you think Ross Tucker ranks?
He's the Michael Jordan of big heads. It's not even really that close.
Okay. Fritzy?
I got to go with Ross. I know he's zoomed in a little bit, and he's trying to sit back as we're saying this, but big head for
McLovin?
Ross.
Are we talking like metaphorical, like he's got a big head?
No, figuratively.
Oh, yeah, it's Ross.
Yeah. Seton?
Yeah, I got to go with Ross.
Ross, do you have an 8 head?
I do. I have a very large head, Dan. And I got to tell you, it's a legitimate factor for me in my career in the media. I actually lift my neck muscles twice a week because I don't want to look like a bobblehead when I'm on Dan Patrick's YouTube show, right? Like your neck to head ratio in life is very important. So I lift my neck multiple times a week just so I don't look like a bobblehead when I'm on with you.
Your head doesn't fit on my screen. There you go. There you go. Now you just look like a bobblehead. You couldn't have the Ross Tucker bobblehead because it would tip over.
Okay.
All right,
And,
okay. My
I
bad.
got a lot of brains in there, Dan.
Yes, you
I didn't.
do.
I went to a real Ivy League school, not Dartmouth like McLovin. You know what I mean? I got a lot of brains that got to fit in there.
Shot.
Wait,
Shots
who
fired.
won the Ivy League title this year? You call the game.
Yeah, it's because they're able to get people in McLovin that wouldn't be able to get into Princeton. That's how it works. Congratulations.
He's Ross Tucker, former NFL player, host of the Ross Tucker podcast, and his YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Great to see you, Ross. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, Dan. Anytime.
That's Ross Tucker, friend of the show.